Very much. So we started last month looking directly at the pledge. And for those who are at home, if you have your pledge, you might want to get it out and look at it. So we were not finished with respect to self and others. So we are going to go right there. And one of the things we were talking about in terms of respect to self, we said that respect to self also means managing our emotion. Managing our emotion. And I would like to just take one emotion that gives us some trouble. I see you start smiling already. So I don't know if you know what emotion is that one. What emotion is that one, you think? Anger. Anger. So if we could call that up on the media so we could begin to see that. Now, anger is a wonderful emotion. All our emotions are wonderful. I call them guardian angels because they give us messages. They tell us things about ourselves, right? So, anger. What does anger tell you about yourself? What message does it give you? Anybody knows? You're not happy? So it may say something like you're hurt. It may say that you're experiencing injustice. It may say that you are experiencing needs. You have needs that are not met. So, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind, I suppose being the oldest child of my parents and having 7 brothers after me, living in the country, and it's raining, and all the boys are cooped up in the house. And as soon as it finishes raining, they want to go outside. The need is to play because they have been inside all day long. And my parents would say to them, no, you're not going outside because I don't want you to get a cold and I don't want you to come back inside here and dirty the house. And the little ones, of course, would throw a temper tantrum, right? Because they have needs that are not met. It's no different than your teenagers, your sons or your daughters come to you and ask you to go to a party and you say yes. You're going, and then last minute you change your mind, right? And they figure out it's only at the party they could meet their friends. And let's be honest, meeting your friends and having friends is a need, okay? But they just figure out that's the only place they could meet their friends. Well, it's no different from you, you know. Being on the phone, you ever need to talk to your friends, and your husband or your wife may get upset about that, right? And so that is it. So let's talk a little bit about, if we could just get to this slide on nonviolence, which is, I think, is 6. Yeah. So we may feel, so let's talk about, no, I think it's before that. All right, just let's talk about it. So you feel frustrated, right? You may feel frustrated. And that's fine. But do you know when you're getting frustrated? Right? Do you know when you're getting frustrated? So it may start there, that there is something you want. Frustration tells us there is something we want, and there is something in the way that's blocking us. We can't get it, right? And the great things about emotions, they basically tell us what to do, right? So we may get into problem solving, and we may try to do something, negotiate that we could get what we want, right? We don't have to. But let's say we can't negotiate. And this frustration now turns into annoyance, some kind of annoyance. And then it builds. We're not managing it well, so it builds, and we get angry. Okay? And after that, what happens? What happens is that we feel resentful. And then we are enraged. And what happens after that? All right, very good. Oh, you know it well. You explode into either violent language. What you say is not flattering. And after this violence, what happens? What happens in that downward spiral? Guilt. Right, you feel guilty. You feel, then you feel ashamed. And yes, obviously, you feel depressed. You feel depressed about it. Now, so in terms of looking at the pledge, what you really want to do is to be able to really manage your anger so that it doesn't get into the stage of resentment and rage for you to explode and then be violent. You want to manage it there, right? Because you don't want to not be angry. You don't want to lose that capacity, right? A lot of people, when they experience themselves as losing it, angry behavior, then they work hard as if they want to give up that emotion. You can't give up an emotion. You want to befriend the emotion, know it well enough that you can use it to your benefit and to the benefit of other people. Right? I always remember St. Thomas Aquinas saying for a Christian to have lived and never to have been angry is to admit that you've never been a Christian. Because anger is the energy for the work of justice. To do justice work. Right? We should all feel something when we walk down Brian Lara Promenade and we see people eating from a bin. It should get us angry enough that we want to do something. It should bother our Christian consciences. And if our consciences don't move at that, then we know something is wrong. We're getting comatose. Right? And Christians should never be comatose. Then anger tells us something. So some of us have a way. There are many ways we deal with anger, and it's not helpful. So some of us are explosive, so we deal with it in an aggressive manner. Right? We slam the door. We say what we shouldn't say. We throw things around. We trash things around. So that's the aggressive way. And aggression, guess what? Begets aggression. And there's some people that say, I never get angry yet. I don't get angry. You ever see me angry? I don't get angry. Okay? So you say, so they get up in the morning and say, good morning, how are you? I just told you good morning. So you didn't hear me answer you? So what do you want? What you want? What are you looking for? Right? And let's say it's a family, and they say, well, this evening, who's going to pick up the children? I don't know. What's wrong with you? I said nothing. What are you asking me that for? Right? Or it could be a teenager at school. They get to school and they're having fun with their friends, but by 10 o'clock, the hormones step in and they feel moody and whatever else, and they're angry. A teacher told them something, and their friend might come to them and say, you going to the cafeteria? No. Want me to get something for you? What happened to you? Leave me alone. Right? So aggression begets aggression, and passive aggression. To be passive aggressive, what does it do? It invites aggression. It invites other people to be aggressive. So the only thing really that in terms of the pledge that we need to work on as a skill is assertiveness. Because assertiveness dissipates aggression. So if you remember, aggression begets aggression. Passive aggression invites aggression. Right? And assertiveness dissipates aggression. So what we want to do is to work at that skill of being able to manage our emotions. We want to be able to do that. Self-regulate. We want to be able to do that. And how do we do that? How do we do that? Hopefully, I was sharing with Cassie that one of the things I would you know, offer to Rhonda is to really do some real skill building in terms of, because you just can't take a pleasure and think you could pray yourself through nonviolence. You have to do both. You have to pray for the grace, but you have to do the hard work of building the skills, which I also think is a prayer, is a practical way, is a praxis, is orthodoxy and orthopraxis, right? It's the right belief and right action, and the right action has to be skill-based. So in terms of working with our violence, in terms of working with those things, basically is to understand that as human beings, we are the only people, we're the only created mammals that have the ability to pause. Pause. So you're angry, you get triggered, and you don't stop. You feel and you don't think. Guess what will happen? Feel equals reaction. Right? Feeling equal reaction. And then what happens? Then is when you say the wrong thing. Then is when you do the wrong thing. But what happened? You feel, you think, which is taking the pause, then you respond. We are the only people with the capacity and capability to respond. Right? To respond. And as I said, I don't have the time to go through the brain structure for that, but it's very, very clear when we are angry, we're right back here in brain stem, right back here. So we are a reptile. You're no different from a lizard. Right? So it makes no sense talking to somebody else who is angry, because what you talk, they basically are in a good space, you know. But the good space, the only skills they have access to is fight, flight, freeze. And what do we do as human beings when we fight? Because we hit. We do all those things, right? And what do we do as human beings, as adults, when we fight? We either shut down, right? Or when we fly, sorry. What do? We either shut down, right? Or what do? We go hide ourselves. Or another way we take flight is we self-medicate. That's how we take flight, right? So we either eat too much, drink too much, plenty of other things too much, which I won't go into, but we do all of those things. We take flight in those things. We take flight in those behaviors, right? So just look and see what addictions. But we take flight into those things, right? We surrender to it. When we freeze, that's what we do. When we freeze, we surrender. When we freeze, we just become a victim and we blame everybody else. And you made me angry. If you didn't do that, I wasn't going to be angry. We take no responsibility. You know, I am always amazed that a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old could get a 45-year-old and a 50-year-old in a classroom totally out of sorts. I'm always amazed at that. I'm always amazed that a 10-year-old could get a 60-year-old grandparent out of sorts. How that happens? Huh? As the adult, we're supposed to be in the one in control. We have access to hear. We have this. It's developed. Neocortex is already developed. Frontal lobe is already developed. For those little children, it's not totally developed. We literally hold the front of their brains for them. They don't have that yet. That is not completely developed, not until you're about 24 years old. Insurance company know that. Right? So that's why if you have to go and get insurance for somebody who is under 25, you pay through your nose. Because they know that. These people, they don't have what it takes to make good decisions. That's the executive part of your brain. That's why you make good decisions. That's why you think through things. That's why you problem solve. That's why you say, what can I learn? But as long as you're back here, right? So we'll talk about that some other time, a little more, and go through that, because it's very helpful to understand that. So what you can do to pause? What do you do to pause? So that you could access thinking. So you could feel, think, respond. I like to look at it as a traffic light. You're on red. It says, don't move. Stand up. You stand up there wasting your time? Just waiting for the traffic to pass? Right, you're taking some good deep breaths. Right? It's an amber. What are you thinking there? You should cross like a regular Trini? Just run across? Nah. You're thinking about, if I should do this, this will have the consequence of that. It is going to hurt me. It's going to hurt somebody else. This is still trouble. Right? So when you're going to move on green, you're only going to move on green when your decision is not going to hurt you, is not going to hurt somebody else, and is not going to hurt the environment. Yeah, it could hurt the environment, right? So you could get so vexed. Children get so vexed that they take a knife and they scratch things. They scratch your car. They break things that you like. And you get so vexed, what happened? I know somebody that spent plenty of money on 4 cell phones in 1 year. Because every time they get vexed, they peel the cell phone of their wife. Right? So I won't ask you what you felt. Okay? But just think about it. And we will get to that when we really do emotions, really look at emotions. So now let's talk about, basically, about respect. Continue to talk about respect to others. Let's move to there, because that's the slide up there. So being honest with other people. So also asking people, telling people very candidly, this is how I feel, using your voice on your own behalf. Right? We spoke about Kara, I think, before. Right? So just taking the calm and speaking on your own behalf. This is what I feel. This is what I see. You know? And we have to be very real about this, that somebody's perspective may not be your perspective, but it doesn't mean that it's the wrong perspective. You know, when I teach the boys at St. Mary's College, I always say to them, look, you're at the college, you can't see Brian Lara Promenade. Does that mean that it doesn't exist? And if I'm at Brian Lara Promenade, I can't see the college. Does that mean that the college doesn't exist? What it means is that I'm on Brian Lara Promenade, and I could tell you there are 6 coconut men selling coconuts. I could tell you there are 7 fruit vendors. I could tell you there are policemen. I have very clear vision of what's around me. And if I'm at St. Mary's College, I can tell you, I can see the girls coming across from Pembroke Street, from the convent. I could tell you all of those things. I just can't, I don't have access right now. And what prevents us from having access? Well, there are a lot of things that prevents us from having access. The family system we came from, the schools we went to, the experiences we have had, and how we have allowed that to shape us. All of these things become filters as to what we see and hear. All of these things. And it's the same for the other person that you're talking to. So you may not see it yet. And that is why it's important, even when we disagree, we have to agree to disagree. I am to acknowledge I am not here yet. But it's not that the person is lying and then your point of view becomes the only point of view. So St. Mary's College is only what exists for me. No, there's no way Brian Lara Promenade could exist, or vice versa. I'm just not there yet. Is that making sense to you? Yeah. Right? And there is where we extend, for one, I always say that, you will tired hear me say that, for one, we acknowledge human limitations. In all humility, we cannot see everything. Right? We don't know everything. And other people have a vision of the world likewise that's just as valid. It's just as valid. That's where they stand. You know, if we could just think about that in terms of the pledge, and think about that in terms of husband and wife, think about that in terms of children and the parents. A teenager sees the world very differently than you see it. So in trying to tell them that they're wrong and you're right because you have lived longer, living longer doesn't give you any any privileges of saying that you're right, you know. Living longer just means that's what it is. You live longer. And you have some more experience. That doesn't make it right. It makes it different. It makes it different. But not necessarily right, but different. If we could learn from each other, appreciating differences. And even that is a difference. That's where I am developmentally. That's where you are developmentally. So even that is a difference. And we could appreciate that. You know, and not even talking about all of the racial differences, the religious differences that give us a whole different worldview. So I always say, I think one of the things that we need to grow in is curiosity. You know, maybe when Jesus said you have to become like a little child again, a little child. Maybe that's one of the things he was encouraging us to look at, becoming curiosity. Because I think if we're curious, we're much more apt to appreciate what the difference is, what's going on. Tell me something about this difference. Tell me what you understand by this. Rather, we don't have to control, and we don't have to manipulate, and we don't have to coerce. If we're really trying to make peace, we're always trying to learn. If we're really trying to make peace, we're always trying to understand. If we're really trying to make peace, we're always trying to wear somebody else's shoe and try to see it from their point of view. And seeing it from another person's point of view don't mean that we've lost ours. Don't mean that we have surrendered our point of view. As a matter of fact, we're expanding our point of view. Because there might be something else there that challenges us, right? Compliment and praise. Well, we don't do too well with that, you know, because the opposite of that basically is what? It's competition, right? If I'm competing with you, it's very difficult for me to acknowledge the good that you're doing and say, wow, that's great. Because if I see through the eyes of competition, all of your successes, right, dictates in my mind, not so, that's a myth, but it dictates in my mind my sense of failure. Because I've set up myself against you. And it's very hard then to acknowledge, wow, I couldn't do this. This is a whole different gift. You know, I just had one of our sisters here helping with she's an accountant, helping with finances for the Institute, you know, and she said to me, when you sit in front of the Blessed Sacrament, ask for one gift. I said, what is the gift? She said, ask for one gift because you will send any accountant mad. You're the only person that go to the market with $5. You buy $10 goods, but you come back with $1 change. I don't know that. Right? That's because I mix up money, you know, and I take it as nothing kind of thing, you know. And so she was saying, but I really appreciate what she does. I mean, I feel blessed and I feel relief when she's around. Right? Because she keeps me on the straight and narrow. You know? So I have been making this this commitment to myself, because she left me set up with a little book to carry in my purse so I could write. I did this, I bought gas. So at least it will make her life easier. So even there, out of respect for her, I have to do something. It seems simple, but it's out of respect for her, because I can't expect every time she comes, she has to just go and look for every single thing. That's not fair. That's not respectful. That's not respectful. And just think about the things that we do to others that's not respectful. Just because we don't have an interest in it, just because it is not our thing, it doesn't mean that we just, you know, dismiss it as unimportant, because it's important for somebody else. And we see that in family all the time. You know, you read in the newspaper, you like to read sports, this other person like to read the editorial, this other person like to read obituaries. Right. So you're right, they're looking to see if they died. You know. So what happens? So you go and you know who read the papers. Because according to who read the papers, what happened there? The editorial is there, the sports page is there, and the obituaries are to the back or something like that. Okay, but you know, this seems as a simple thing, but it brings a lot of disagreement and tension in families, you know. Especially when you buy one paper. There's only 3 ways to solve that problem, you know. You either have to go down there and quarrel, right, and say all kinds of things. That's one choice, and get your stress level up and be, you know, annoyed for the whole day. Or you can say, I want to read the papers. So you go and you pick up all the pieces and you put it together and you read it. Or you buy your own papers. Yeah? So you have a choice. There is a choice. You know, but again, out of respect for others. You know, if this is a common paper, is the newspaper for the family, then we have to be a little more sensitive to do that. Common spaces, whether that's the sitting room or whether that's the study, whatever, you know, again, show respect for people. Right? You could do possibly what you want in your bedroom, but in common spaces. And that is very true, I know, as a religious, for us in community life. Right? You know, maybe the only thing we have really is our bedrooms. Everything else belongs to everybody else. And you have to be cognizant of how you use it. The chapel is common space. The dining room is common space. And you have to use it in a way that somehow you show some kind of reverence for the other people that live with you. And I think the same thing is true of families. But just think about how many times, you know, because the children are small, we just say, you know, we just minimize everything, you know, just make it small. And then we wonder. Positive feedback. Do we give people positive feedback? Or, you know, I was saying to someone today that what you look for, you get more of. So if you look for what you're going to criticize, you're going to find every little point to criticize. And according to the pledge, it says no negative criticism. Right? So what do you try to look for? You look for what's positive. You know, we teach a parenting program that says catch them doing good. Try to catch your children doing good. Well, I say move beyond that. Move beyond even the children. Try to catch not only the children, but try to catch yourself doing good. Try to catch your husband doing good. And let your husband try to catch you doing good. I think the conversation will really change. The emphasis in the house wouldn't be on the negative all the time. Okay? All right. So, using affirming language, which is very similar to praising. Using affirming language to help people really recognize. And you know, when we affirm, you know, people must know exactly what we're affirming them for. You know, so, wow, I didn't even have to ask you to do your homework tonight. You know, it's really nice to see you. You're taking responsibility. You're growing up to be a responsible person, taking care of your own things. So you started your homework all on your own. Right? Or thank you very much. You realized I was going to be late for supper. You put out the chicken for me. So that was really nice. Or you pick up your clothes, and you pick up mine too, and you fold it up. You know, so that people know exactly, you know, why we are affirming them. So it validates the behavior, right? Those kinds of things. Validating other people's feelings. Allowing them to have their feeling and feel it. That's really what it means about validating other people's feelings. You know, so your child lost the pet dog, and they come and tell you, oh, my mommy, my dog died. Yeah, you're going to get another dog. No, it's okay to feel sad. Okay to feel sad. Or, you know, sometimes we don't know what to tell people. So we have had quite a few sudden deaths in many families, you know, and then sometimes we go to see those persons and we just don't know what to say, and we say the wrong thing. You know, we say, you know, how, you know, you're looking good even though something bad happened. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do with that? You're looking good even though it was a difficult time. You're looking good. So what are you supposed to do with that? Does that mean I'm sorry for you? Does that mean, what does that mean? Yeah? Or you know something? It's 40 days. You know you should be getting over that by now, you know? 40 days. So how long you had this person for? 40 years? 25 years? 30 years? Or are you going to get over it? So what are you telling them? Hurry up? You're going to get over it. Hurry up. You know, so sometimes I think this is not about the person. This is about how uncomfortable we ourselves are feeling. It's nothing to do with the person. So could we allow people to feel and support them there? Maintaining boundaries. And maintain, you know, it's hard to establish our own boundaries and maintain them. Far less maintaining the boundaries of other people. But those of us who drive in Trinidad, we should understand that, right? Because we have to maintain our little space in the road, and we have to look at other people and how they're not maintaining their space, right? So I think that's a good example. But I want to talk a little bit about something much more serious. You know, the word no, as small as it is as powerful as it is in setting a limit. When people say no, they set a limit. No means no. It has no other meaning. You know, so, you know, it could be said in jest to someone, and you're making a joke, and the person says, no, I don't like it. We don't continue to do it. We don't continue to do it. You are enjoying it as your joke, but the other person is not enjoying it as their joke. They're telling you no, right? So maintaining those kinds of boundaries. You know, asking people what's appropriate. And I think we sense when we have crossed that boundary and we have asked people things that are intrusive, or we have done things that are intrusive. But sometimes I think for us, we have to be able, that's where women, I'm not being sexist here, but women, we've trained so much to be at the service of others. We train so much to please others that a lot of times we allow our boundaries to be violated. And we feel it. We know that's a violation. You know? We have very few men here, but hardly I think a woman will go up to a man and touch him on his face and say, you're wearing a nice shirt. I mean, even that on my own face, thinking about what I'm saying, is strange. So what gives us the right? What gives anybody the right to come up to a woman and say, you're really looking nice today? It could be said without touch, unless there is a relationship that allows for it. You know, but sometimes we're not sensitive to that at all. Honoring confidentiality as another way of respecting people. You know, that's a big one to talk about. That's a real big one to talk about. That we really need, you know, somebody says to you something and says, you know, I'm only sharing it with you. You know, as a therapist, one of the things I always think about is that I have no right to hear what people tell me. Because people are coming to me in their most vulnerable state. It's no different than when I call somebody and I say, you know, I really need to talk. when I can manage, I don't call anybody. You know that yourself. When you can manage, you don't call anybody. But when you cannot manage, then is when you call. So you're vulnerable, and you're sharing of your own sacred story. Everybody's story is sacred. You have no other salvific root more than your own story. You know, I'm always amazed that you go to church and we listen to, you know, today we listened to Tobit, right? You know, last week we were listening to John and all, you know, all of those. And we sit down there and we savor their story. But our story was the same savoring. And people that share their story with us, they're sharing God's action in their life and their response to God's action in their life. So when they share their story, they're sharing their salvation story with you. We have to honor it. I say, I would like to share that sentence, that phrase with you. I say, hold it in sacred trust. They've given to you something of their life, hold it in sacred trust. That's what we can do if we really respect others. Even when our children say to us, Mom, don't tell Auntie that. No, you don't have to call and tell Uncle that. You know, all behavior is communication. That child is telling you, I am embarrassed, or I'm not ready yet for Uncle or Auntie to know that. Why we can't honor that? Why just because they're children? Why we can't honor it? And it's the same thing. So, speak with others and not about others. That's a big one. That's a real big one. If you're going to keep this pledge, you know, that's a fancy way of talking about, that's a fancy way of saying gossip, right? Not to gossip, right? Speak with others and not about them. Go to people and say, you know, I felt upset at this. I did this. But you know, I used to think men don't gossip. Right? But I used to think so. I really used to think so. I used to think so. You know? I used to think so. But let me tell you, gossiping is not only a woman thing, you know? Right? Gossiping is a human thing. Gossiping is a human thing. And maybe we do it a little more. But gossiping really is a human thing. So just remember, you know, and maybe some ways that you could check yourself on that. If you're going to say something to somebody and you're going to tell them, look, I'm only telling you that because you're the only person that will listen. As soon as you hear those words, those manipulative words, check yourself. You know, but you see, if you don't check yourself, you know something? It's going to just fan your ego. It's just going to suave your ego. And then you're going to feel, oh yeah, come on, tell me. Because now you think you're the best listener in the world. You're the person that could understand the most. But that's a catch. That's a catch. And if they're going to talk to you about somebody else, you just ask the person, say, you know, how is this going to help you with Mary? How is this going to help you with James? And if it's not going to help them with James, well, why tell me? So check it out. Check it out. Maybe James needs to be here. And especially if it's in the workplace and in some family situation too, likewise. Respect other people's property. Well, that's everything, yeah? That's everything. That we have to teach in the house. I don't know what arrangements a lot of husbands and wives have, and you know, but I know one of the things that, you know, 10 years ago, one of the things that was really reaping havoc in marriage was credit cards. Well, credit cards gone by the side of the road now, you know, because lots of women have their own credit cards. But what's reaping havoc in a lot of marriages is cell phone. Cell phones. You know, we're checking everybody WhatsApp. We're checking everybody this. We're checking everybody history. We're checking well, I don't know. I can't tell you how to live your life, right? But I just know that that needs a discussion because it's really causing a lot of problems in family and a lot of dissension. So it really needs an honest discussion. You know, if we're sharing Phones, fine. If you have an issue where you're beginning to question trust and trust is beginning to be questionable, have a discussion around it now. Have a discussion around it. But this is really beginning to cause trouble. Avoid interrupting. Avoid interrupting. So you're in conversation, whether that's with your children, whether that's be with your spouses, whether that be with workers at your workplace. You know, we listen as if we want to debate. That's how we listen, you know. We listen always with an anticipation to answer and to rebuttal. So that's why we have so many interruptions. But if we listen with an intent to understand, we don't interrupt. My best, I like to take little pieces of scripture and I like to see them as icons, is Jesus on the road to Emmaus. He listened. He came with, met those two disciples, and he listened so well that, listen what they asked him. You might be the only person in Jerusalem that didn't know what happened. Because he was listening so well. So well. And when he answered, he could answer from a place, a response to them that they needed to hear of things that they didn't understand. So much so that the scripture says his response caused something to burn within them. Somebody ever listened to you so well that something burned within you? No, we say, oh gosh, that person listened to me so well. Eh? They see, they catch what I mean, right? And that was so appealing to the disciples that some people listen to you and they say, oh, praise God, they're gone, they stopped, they are hoping, we're going to turn a broom. I don't know if you do that in Trinidad. Turn the broom upside down, So let them go. Go pretend you go in the bathroom so you could go turn a broom upside down. So they could leave, right? But in this case, they invited him. They say, stay with us. Stay with us. Just think about that. So I always think, even though they tell you, listen, when you do psych, Carl Rogers, listen in this way. To me, the best way to listen is the Jesus way. The best way to listen is the Jesus way. To be educated in the experience of someone else. That you don't know the answer or the outcome. Could you listen so that you are educated in somebody else's experience? I don't care if your father died already and they come to tell you their father died. No, it's not the same experience. Even though you were identical twins, it won't be the same experience. Could we listen with an attitude of learning? I think then is when we don't interrupt. Then we will stop and say, could you just say that again so that I could understand? It's not you didn't say it right. Say that to help me understand. Okay? Invite without demanding. That we could respect people. So we invite you and say, I hope you come in, Almost a threat. If you don't come, like something. No, invite. An invitation means that there's a certain amount of openness. That there is choice. An invitation gives a choice. There's a certain amount of openness. So invite without that. Okay, let's move. Help others without insulting them. Don't make... Well, it's two places. We either could reproach, sometimes parents even fall into that. I'm working so hard and that is what you're producing. You mean to say I'm wasting my time? So poor children, they don't know what to do, how to feel, okay? Or we could help others with again, making them feel that they always owe us something. You don't count how much time I stay home with you when you were sick. You didn't check on that, huh? But helping others without insulting them, without making them feel smaller. again, you know, we have such a wonderful witness of Jesus helping and just really never expecting. Right? Apart from in one situation where he cures the lepers, one came back and he said, weren't the others? But again, not insulting, just asking the question. Respecting people's beliefs and values. We won't spend a lot of time in that because it's basically, again, I like to say the curiosity, getting to know, getting to learn, you know, knowing that you don't have the last word, the first word, and the middle word. You have a word. You know, it took the Catholic Church even a long time to get there. But in the Second Vatican Council, we realized that, look, there are other faith traditions that have truth. We don't have all the truth. We have some of the truth. Not all the truth. Right? All the truth. The whole truth. And that was hard for us to accept and to say. I think you have to get into that. And sometimes people are really not right there yet. Okay? Love without clutching. I think it's hard for parents when they have to let go of children. I think it's hard. We have so much anxiety around that. But to you know, everybody that comes into our life, including our children, are gifts. Are gifts. Right? We use it respectfully. We cherish it. We recognize there is a giver, a gift. And part of the thanksgiving, the generosity, part of the gratitude is being able to let people go so that they can become. You know, our love should not stifle. Our love should not imprison. Our love should not be so clingy that people cannot become. Our love should free people into becoming the best selves. You know, our love should empower, really. So, and that is what it is to respect others. Respect others. Join them without invading their space. How could we be part of something without invading people's space? Showing respect there. I don't have to feel that because you are with me in some partnership or something, that somehow that I am almost suffocated by you. But join without invading people's space. And that's a hard one. You know, they're all hard, as a matter of fact, because it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of self-regulating. It takes a lot of awareness. All of these things call us to great awareness and mindfulness, you know, of other people. But it calls us to really look, to treat, if we really live those things, we really treat people as sacred. People who really mirror and have and carry the life of God in them. And that is what we honor, that innate dignity of the human person. We honor that. Respecting self and others, it starts there. That's where it starts. That's where it starts. As I said, hopefully I will speak with Ron and we will go through this. But, you know, even the scientists are referring to that as the God look. The real claiming, the real, you know, there was a song long ago, I'm nobody until somebody loves me. Right? It's like you don't get a sense of yourself. You don't come into your own person, not until you're selected, you're chosen. Right? This is what's happening there. And if you look at that, all in the same direction, right? And there's a reason for that, you know. That's not the child mimicking the mother. You have in your face what you call mirror nerves. right? So that's why sometimes you yawn and I yawn. You smile and I smile, right? That was not put on. I just felt it because you were smiling at me. It's the same thing going on here. It's the very same thing going on here. And a lot of things could damage this. A lot of things could damage this. But basically, the claiming of ourselves and the respecting of ourselves starts there. Really starts there. Respect for self and others in a is learned in a family. Everything about us. We learn how to feel and express feelings. Our thoughts are shaped by our family. The way we relate to our bodies, family. Mind, the triumphs, the failures, how we deal with that happens in the family. You know, our fears and our hopes. You know, Virginia Satir, who was one of the first female social worker, really did a lot of work in those areas. And to know that others have the same privilege, or others have the same privilege, right? They have the privilege to experience their feelings, to have their thoughts, to relate to their bodies, their minds, to celebrate themselves in triumph, to learn from their failures, to deal with their fears and their hopes. So respecting self and others come from one realization, knowing, believing, and accepting that you are loved. And that's where we started the very first night with our scripture. And how do we really come to grasp that? I have made you, I have created you, I love you, dedicated you, according to 1 Jeremiah 5, and Paul's letter, that love I have for you is everlasting. And we first sense that love and discover that love in that relationship we have with parents, especially our mothers. Men have to work to get there. Well, we could teach men to get there. Easy to get there. You start talking to the baby in the womb. Your wife is pregnant, your girlfriend is pregnant, you start talking, you start singing, you start playing, you start introducing daddy, right? So I think that's, right, being convinced, convicted that love is the potting soil. That's where we need to grow. So that love is really the potting soil of our growth in self-respect and in respect for others. That's it?
That's it. Thank you, Sister Julie.
Very welcome.
Well, we only have about 3 minutes. We don't have time for many questions, but I want to be selfish. Oh, I'm blocking. Where should I start? I want to be selfish and ask the first question, because the very first, I want to go right back to the beginning, and the very first emotion you talked about, anger. In your experience, would you be able to say if people who don't express anger and suppress it and hold it in, that could affect them physically?
Of course, of course, of course.
You want to expand on that?
Let me go very quickly. There are 3 ways you could express anger, right? So you have all seen balloons. So you blow a balloon, you blow it to the extent beyond itself. What happens? It explodes. Boom, right? You have gone to parties and you've looked up and you see balloons just losing the air, right? So that's a passive aggressiveness, losing the air. Right? You know, they never explode. And then the third, you have gone to the mall and you have seen people taking balloons and they're making animals with it. The air is not escaping, neither is it exploding, but it is going to different parts of the balloon to create the animal, and or the toy, whatever they're making, is the same thing. So we have that last the question you ask really is the last part of the metaphor I'm using. So we don't express our anger, we bury it, we repress it, it stays. A lot of, we will say today that some depression is caused because of inverted anger, anger turned inwardly. Because again, I don't have time to go through the science of that, because when you're angry, you produce a whole different set of neurotransmitters. And remember, anger is an emergency emotion, right? So what you produce, a lot of the adrenaline, is to get you to move, right? What your kidneys produce in terms of when you get stress after the anger, cortisol, which is the stress hormone, again, is to help you deal with that stuff. But it's not supposed to be in your body all the time. So if you have chronic anger that's turned inside, inwardly, then you're going to, 1, It acts on your T cells. Your T cells are your basically your guard of your body. So you're very susceptible to common colds, a lot of backache, and a lot of things. No, please, because somebody have a common cold tomorrow, don't say. So a lot of those things, yes, yeah. Headaches.
All right, well, we just have about 50 seconds left. Anybody had a quick burning question or comment? Judy, like you wanted to say something quick. It'd have to be real quick.
I just wanted to make the comment that, you know, often you hear that when you focus on yourself, it's an egocentric thing. But in all that you shared tonight, it spoke to the importance of awareness of self and knowledge of self as a first step to be able to manage self and interact with others.
I am mine before anybody else's.
All right, well, I think we're going to have to close it there, but let's give Sister Julie a round of applause. Let me get on this side. That was really, really fabulous. You know, we have pure gift here in Sister Julie Marie Peters. Thank you for joining us on this nonviolence program. Remember, first Tuesday of the next month. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you.